Stay in the freaking car, Morty, because we have a lot to unpack here. But hey, we have no idea when the second half of season 4 is gonna drop, so don't worry, we have like infinite time. Shove your snake in a spacesuit and let's break it down! I'm Whitney Van Laningham, and these are all the Easter eggs and references you might have missed in Rattlestar Ricklactica. Just really quick, I'd like to give a hearty lick my balls to anyone who has ever yelled at me about time travel.
But what do I know? I wasn't born into the god business. I f***ing earned it.
Surprise! After years of saying that they'd never ever do an episode involving time travel, the creators knocked the time travel stuff box off the shelf. Literally and metaphorically, and it was epic. Obviously, the episode title is another reference, this time to Battlestar Galactica. After setting up Jerry with buoyancy so that he can put up the Christmas lights, Rick and Morty head off to their next adventure in space. A few minutes into their trip, Rick's ship blows a flat tire on something sharp. Luckily, his fully immersive flat tire simulator kicks in to let them know, otherwise they'd be forced to hear the celebrity voice of Christopher Walken.
Flat tire, you should be walking.
When Morty asks why he can't join Rick to fiddle with the tire in space, Rick makes a gravity reference.
No, I've seen this movie. Two guys leave the ship, one guy goes spinning away. You're staying in here where it's safe.
Of course, Morty leaves the ship and is bitten by a space snake. Look at its little astronaut suit with fang holes just for biting! As Morty's body starts to fail him, Rick calls him a Japanese 90s ghost, probably because all the gross veiny splotches slowly spreading across his body look like whatever undead skin problem the girl from The Ring has. As usual, Morty can't let the snake's death go. He feels responsible for taking away hope from 19 billion intellectual serpents who were just trying to get on with their race war. He decides to get a new snake from the pet store, steal Rick's ship, and drop the snake off above the planet's atmosphere. While he's sneaking out past a riggedy-wrecked Rick, you can hear the Plumbus episode of How They Do It playing in the background.
Everyone has a Plumbus in their home.
It's not only a callback to one of the best Rick and Morty bits of all time, it's also a commentary on the fact that the Discovery Channel just reruns the same episode of How It's Made over and over and over again. Once the snake re-enters the atmosphere, the snake government is immediately alerted and springs into action. The snake watching the monitors in the control room is clearly looking at a sexy snake centerfold. This is probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to Snake World, and that's saying something because they're really sophisticated snakes. But imagine if you sent like Sally Ride up into space, but instead of coming back, she was killed, and an alien replica was sent back to take her place on Earth. Earth would be losing its goddamn mind. Honestly, I think the snakes handled it better than us humans would. They recruit an Arrival/Indiana Jones-esque Professor Snake to help translate the Earth Snake's hisses, and the two end up doing some slithering, if you know what I mean. In the background of the first Snake press conference, there's a painting of Snake George Washington crossing the Snake Delaware River. Back at the Smith house, Morty, Summer, and Rick are playing Downbeat again. This Yahtzee-like board game first appeared in Rick Mancing the Stone, but as Morty joked in this scene, we haven't really seen it played enough yet to know how the game ends.
What, that dice game where you shake dice and yell out downbeat? No, thank you.
Beth walks in and asks if anyone has seen Jerry, who is then revealed to still be floating in the sky, trying to return to the ground after losing one of his gravity shoes. When Rick realizes that Jerry is probably going to plummet from the sky to his death without intervention, he and Beth hop in the spaceship for a rescue mission. But Jerry's really sticking to his new life plan. He's still dead set on doing everything for himself without any of Rick's inventions. So, he lies to Beth and tells her that he's just at the store buying Christmas lights. Rick instantly sees through this BS story and pauses Beth so that he can talk to Jerry mano a mano. And look, I know you guys are still trying to figure out if Beth is a clone, but don't worry. Rick's good buddy Christopher Walken just gave him the remote control from Click when recording his audio from earlier in the episode. In order to keep up the lie to Beth, Rick remotely taps into a microwave at home full of DNA, ready to be temporarily brought to life for his purposes. This is another example of one of Rick's inventions that save him minor inconvenience, but could have massive consequences if used improperly. The DNA Rick has on file is the pizza guy, Summer, a math teacher, presumably Mr. Goldenfold, a 6 refill of cop DNA, and of course, Jerry. He uses a drop of Jerry's blood combined with his own formula to create a talking head that can help him spread a little misinformation about Jerry's real whereabouts to his daughter. After finding his way back to the ground, Jerry stumbles into a bar called the Devil's Teat looking for a way home. One of the tough guys that yell at Jerry to take his goddamn boulder back outside is clearly wearing a Led Zeppelin shirt. Back in Summer's bedroom, she and a couple girlfriends are having a sleepover and jamming out to Snake Jazz. In the background, you can clearly see that Summer is into both Twilight and White Tupac, so That's a weird combination. Meanwhile, next door, Morty is jerking off to some porn on his cell phone when a snake from the future shows up to kill him. Man, that happens to me at least twice a week, and it's so annoying. Blue balls and a snake attack? Rude. Turns out that Morty gave the snakes something bigger to unite against, and now they're hell-bent on using time travel to eliminate him to save their species. This turns the rest of the episode into a giant Terminator reference, from SnakeNet to actual Terminator robot snakes and everywhere in between. We also get a snake that has a battle suit similar to Ed 209 from RoboCop, as well as a pyramid inside of the snake pentagon that feels a lot like a Stargate callout. When Rick realizes that the snakes have only gotten a quarter of the way through inventing their time machine, he and Morty have to enter a time loop to get out of present-day Snake World. They jump back to Snake MIT campus in 1985, where snakes are cutting up cocaine in the student parking lot. There are tons of fun little 80s references all throughout this scene. One of the snakes has a Pac-Man shirt, there's a Snake Back to the Future and a Snake Michael Jackson Bad album poster hanging up in the lab, and a Rubik's Cube on one of the desks. Also, is it just me, or do those two snakes kinda look like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs? Especially with that colorful fruit on Snake Jobs. I know they didn't go to MIT, but those two would no doubt mess with time travel and ruin it for everyone. Oh, and by the way, that souped-up 80s snake that kills Snake Bill Gates totally uses a chainsword from Warhammer 40k to do it. With time travel invented early enough for them to be stupid with it, the snakes go back in time to try to right all the wrongs in snake history, while Rick and Morty go back to present-day Earth. First step, saving Snake Abraham Lincoln from Snake John Wilkes Booth at the Ford Snake Theater in 1965. Next, they fast forward to Germany 1938 in order to eliminate Snake Hitler. Unfortunately, that's the problem with time travel. Killing Hitler would cause too many risky ripples in the space-time continuum, so as soon as the first assassin arrives, so do hundreds more. So it looks like fascism versus basic decency will be an eternal struggle that will plague snake kind across the span of time. At Snake Hitler's house, he has a giant painting of a German Shepherd hanging in his living room. Hitler loved painting dogs, particularly his German Shepherd Blondie. He also was a crap artist, hence those googly eyes. With snake time travel and full pandemonium, we're blessed with the return of the testicle monster time cops, and all those floating Schrodinger's cats from last time they came around. They go back in time to the Snake Caveman days and beat up half a Snake Bam Bam and Pebbles duo to teach them a lesson in messing with time travel. As they die and disappear into the fabric of time, the snakes turn in on themselves to form the symbol of the Ouroboros. Ouroboros, or the image of the snake eating its own tail, has been used to represent infinity, life, and death, and the concept of time itself. In this case, the snakes both literally and symbolically cannibalizing themselves through time travel is the perfect cranky critique on time travel that a certain showrunner who hates the trope would make. But before Rick and Morty can retire, they have to invent snake time travel and sew up some snake suits to close that time loop from earlier. And that's when we figure out where Morty's black eye came from! Rick punched him in the face in the post-credits scene to discourage him from getting out of the car in the middle of outer space again. These are all the Easter eggs and references I could find in Rattlestar Ricklactica, but I want to know which ones I missed in the comments. Like and subscribe to Nerdwire, and remember,